Happy Monday, you guys. I am going to start off our discussion this week with the question, should you do the keto diet? Now, you might have asked yourself this, or you might know somebody who has done it or thought about doing it, and that is because it is all the rage right now. It is all over the place, and you might think, oh, well, Kim's into nutrition, so obviously she's going to say, heck no, run away from the keto diet, do anything else. But stick around because you might be surprised at what my answer is today. So, today is week 2, and we are talking about diets and diet strategies this week. And I am super excited because I pulled 4 of my favorite diet plans or programs for you this week. We're going to talk through keto, paleo, Whole30, and Weight Watchers. I'll talk a little bit about each of the programs, some of the pros and cons, and then on Friday we'll wrap it all up and talk about how to choose the right plan for you. So, back to my question, should you do the keto diet? The truth is, the keto style of eating is an incredibly effective fat loss strategy. In fact, in the Faster Way to Fat Loss, we utilize the keto style of eating in our food cycle because it is so effective at fat burning. And it's actually part of the reason that the program is called the Faster Way to Fat Loss, because that is our focus, fat loss, not weight loss. So in addition to being an incredibly effective fat loss strategy, it also increases metabolic flexibility. And metabolic flexibility is the ability for your body to switch between carbs and fat for fuel. So the higher your metabolic flexibility is, the faster that your body can flip from carbs, which most people always have carbs on board, so they're always burning carbs for fuel. So the higher your metabolic flexibility, the faster you can flip over to fat, which means the more of your stored fat that you're going to burn through. So that's a good thing. But in the Faster Way to Fat Loss, we utilize the keto strategies for eating, that low carb, high fat, but then we also add in carbs into our carb cycle. So it's a little bit different than keto, but because keto style of eating is such an effective fat loss strategy, we absolutely include it in the Fast Way to Fat Loss. Now, if you're considering fully committing to the keto lifestyle, there are a few considerations to think about before you get started. So number 1, to get into and maintain ketosis, which is your goal in keto, you have to be very disciplined and very strict with your intake, especially your carbohydrate intake. Number 2, there is definitely a wrong way to do keto. So I've heard it referred to as dirty keto. And what this means is that you are hitting your goals. So you're still hitting your macronutrient goals, which macros are proteins, carbs, and fats. You are hitting your goals by eating processed foods, or you're hitting your extremely high fat goal. So in keto, you're probably shooting for 70 to 80% of your calories for the day from fat. So out of those fat gram goals, you're getting more of it from saturated fats and trans fats. So dirty keto refers to highly processed foods, lots of saturated and trans fats. So while you might still be seeing the weight loss benefits, you're likely not feeling 100%, and you're still putting yourself at risk for some of those long-term health complications, because we do know that lots of trans fats and saturated fats and processed foods do cause long-term health problems. Number 3, you do need to have a well-planned exit strategy. So if you know anybody who's done keto and then they stopped and they gained all their weight back, there are some long-term complications from long-term carb restriction that can cause you to have issues losing the weight once you stop keto. So just jumping back into a regular diet, you would expect a little bit of weight gain. Some people gain it all back, and then because of some of the long-term complications, they have a hard time getting the fat back off after the fact. But we'll talk through those in just a minute. And then I was kind of doing some research and looking through some of the newer research. I did come across a couple studies that are starting to find long-term effects on blood vessels in the heart for people who are on keto or on this severe calorie restriction for really long periods of time. Okay, but before we go too far, let's kind of take it back and talk a little bit about what keto is and how it works to burn fat. So, like I mentioned, keto is a very low carb, moderate protein, very high fat diet. So in a typical diet, you can expect to eat about 40 to 60% of your calories for the day from carbohydrates. In the keto diet, you're going to drop that percentage down to about 5 to 10% of your total calories. And now you still need all of your calories, so you're going to make up that difference in fat. So you should be expecting to eat between at minimum 70%, possibly even more of your calories for the day from fat. The term keto comes from ketosis, and ketosis is a process. It's an alternative mechanism that your body uses in times of starvation to break down fat for fuel. And when your body breaks down the fat, ketones are a byproduct. So in your body, glucose is the preferred fuel source. Every tissue in your body can use glucose. Glucose is preferred. In times of starvation, your body does have a mechanism to break down fat for fuel. So it breaks down the fat, you get a ketone body as a byproduct, and your brain and most of the other tissues in your body can actually use the ketone as fuel in the absence of glucose, which is the sugar that comes from carbs. So in the absence of glucose, your body does have a mechanism to protect itself, and it'll break down the fat and use the ketones for fuel. Let's see. But in order to reach and maintain ketosis, most people have to keep their grams of carbohydrates or their grams between 20 to 50 grams of carbs. So that's about 1 to 2 bananas or 2 to 3 slices of sandwich bread. So it's not a whole lot, and that's your total for the whole day. So it's really important to track if you're really trying to get into ketosis, because a lot of foods, even the high-fat foods like avocados, nuts and seeds, like nut butters like peanut butter, almond butter, they will have carbs in there, just a little bit of naturally occurring carbs, but they can add up quickly. And then if you're adding in some fibrous green veggies or some other sources of foods, if you're adding in processed foods, there's a lot of hidden carbs, so that's really important to keep track of. And read your nutrition labels, but there are a lot of hidden carbs or sources of carbs that you may not be aware of, and that 20 to 50 grams will add up quickly. Okay, so the process of ketosis, I mentioned this is a backup mechanism because glucose is preferred. So the process of going into ketosis or breaking down fat is a survival mechanism. And in order to activate this process, your body, that process is actually stimulated by cortisol and other stress hormones. So studies have found higher levels of cortisol and these other stress hormones in people who are doing keto, who are in ketosis. Some of the benefits found in the research studies, though, for people on the keto diet, they're decreasing their BMI, there's decrease in weight. There you can see the blood glucose, fasting blood glucose and insulin decreasing, and cholesterol can decrease. So there are some weight loss benefits that people see, especially in chronic diseases. Like I said, there's not a lot of long-term data on these, on the effects of the keto diet long term, but definitely in the short term, these are benefits that your doctor might want to see, especially in people who are obese and have quite a bit of weight to lose. So now let's talk through the pros and cons of the keto diet. So pros, you can experience very quick initial weight loss. The keto diet does increase that metabolic flexibility, which I told you that's whenever your body is able to switch between carbs for fuel and fat for fuel to make that switch faster. We do see decreases in weight, BMI, our fasting blood sugar. It does promote the breakdown of excess fat. And then another good benefit is the high fat content of the diet actually increases how satisfied you feel after a meal. And then some of the studies have shown that people who are doing the keto diet have lower levels of the hormones that make you feel hungry. So the hormones that stimulate that hunger sensation. So you can actually feel more satisfied and feel less hungry in between meals. All right, some of the negatives of the keto diet. It is incredibly restrictive, and you are eliminating an entire food group from your diet, and this food group does include a lot of fruits and vegetables, so you do put yourself at risk for having a deficiency in some of those vitamins and minerals. Additionally, a lot of those foods are high in fiber, so you do have the risk excuse me, of long-term digestive issues. Second, keto is a moderate protein diet, so it's not high protein like a lot of people think. And that same survival mechanism that I mentioned above, that cortisol release and that stress release, also stimulates the breakdown of protein to create new glucose in the absence of glucose. So in an effort to keep the body alive when the body thinks it is starving, it can actually break down proteins, so proteins that you're eating and also protein from muscle, to convert it into glucose. So long-term carb restriction does increase the risk of decreasing muscle mass, and since muscle mass is directly related to metabolism, you have an increased risk of slowing your metabolism. Third, long-term carb restriction increases the stress hormone, so you do put yourself at risk for continuous cortisol and stress hormone stimulation, and the constant stress hormone stimulation can suppress thyroid function, and it can also, in women, negatively affect their hormone levels. So slowing metabolism, suppressing thyroid hormone, and negatively affecting hormone balance in women are all three ways to slow or completely stop your fat loss progress. So if you know anyone, or if you have done the keto diet and then stopped the keto diet and gained some of the weight back or all of the weight back, and now you're stuck and you just can't seem to lose fat, those are some of the reasons why you may have slowed your metabolism, you may have thrown your thyroid out of whack, and you could have thrown those hormones out of whack. So definitely something to take into consideration and speak to your doctor about, especially if you followed this and now you're kind of stuck and you don't know what to do next. So in conclusion, keto is a very effective fat loss strategy and can aid in weight loss in the short term, but completely eliminating a food group, especially a diet that has you eliminate or severely restrict fruits and vegetables and limit protein, is going to be really tough to maintain in the long term. And I mean, if you're restricting fruits, veggies, and protein, it may not be the best choice for everybody health-wise. So people are going to respond differently. Some people may do really well on keto. Some people may not respond at all. Some people just may not be able to be that restrictive or strict to enough on the diet to get into ketosis. So if you're interested in learning more about If you're interested in learning more about using the keto strategies to burn fat, but still having carbs without having to completely eliminate carbs, and still including some of your favorite treats in your diet, message me or comment and we'll get a call scheduled to talk through the faster way to fat loss. I would love to share some more information with you. If you are still wanting to give keto a try, number one, always talk to your doctor before starting any new diet regimen. When you get the green light, or if you get the green light, make sure you are including as many whole foods as possible, and make sure that you are including, or that you're getting most of that high fat content from unsaturated fats and not from saturated fats and trans fats and processed foods. And then you may want to consider a multivitamin to kind of make up for any of the deficiencies that you're not getting in your diet because you are keeping your carbs so low. Okay, so that is my spiel on keto. It's very effective. We use it. I love using keto recipes and pulling them into the faster way as part of my low carb cycle. I'd love to talk more about it with you. There is a handout on the page today on the daily thread in Kim's Prescription for Health that has some info on keto. I can't remember which one's on there, but check that out. And then you can get entered to win the daily raffle or the weekly raffle. So check out what you need to do. Share this video and comment something. I don't remember what it is. And there's a keto-friendly recipe on there today. All right, you guys, thanks for tuning in. Tomorrow we'll talk about paleo. So I will see you then. Have a good day.